Lagos State isn't backing down on the single-use plastic ban. Commissioner for the Environment, Tokunbo Wahab, asserts that the state won't compromise for a handful of wealthy business owners at the expense of millions of Lagosians facing the fallout of plastic dumping. This, among other issues, will be our focus in this week's edition of Green Angle. Welcome. I am Esther Mokwariola. And before we begin, let's bring you updates from the world of environment.
Leading a team of enforcement officials from the Ministry of Environment on an inspection tour, Commissioner for the Environment, Tokunbo Wahab, expressed concerns about the security risks posed by the occupation of the space under the Blue Rail Line bridge.
By Friday, the task force will start enforcement to clean up the whole place. And once that is done, we'll take possession and make it a park, so they don't have to come back there.
The team also extended their inspection to Parkview Estate in Ikoyi, addressing infringements on a secondary collector caused by buildings and fencing.
We are going to start the proper notices on everybody to do the right thing. We also want to appeal to Lagosians that they should stop the use of styrofoam. We are very serious about it. The health and environmental hazard is costing the state. You can't quantify it in monetary terms. We've given them 3 weeks grace. The 3 weeks of grace is to enable us to mop them up and account for them. So after 3 weeks, the enforcement will start.
In the meantime, the Commissioner emphasizes that the monitoring and enforcement of environmental laws will be a daily commitment.
Waste management poses a major challenge for megacities like Lagos. The ban imposed by the Lagos State government on styrofoam, commonly called takeaways, is to curb environmental pollution and promote a cleaner environment. However, there are varied perceptions about this development.
If we don't try something, we won't even know if it will work or not. But now that we have tried it, let's see how it can work and help our environment.
I think it would cause a little bit of hardship to those that are making money through it, because for me, it's a better way of packaging foods bought from public places.
I don't support it because what is their provide? What have you provided?
Single-use plastics like shopping bags and pet bottles cause major environmental issues. Many of them end up on the streets and subsequently block drainage paths. They take many years to break down, generating long-term waste problems. Worried by this development, the Lagos State government took action relying on several enabling laws, including the National Environmental Regulation of 2009, which prohibits single-use plastic in the country, but hadn't been enforced until now.
All the states has done under the themes agenda, as you know, the H in themes is health and environment, is to take a very hard look at the existing legislation and decide, well, as a government, you're responsible to enforce the law. So it's not sudden. You can't say if somebody has stolen an object, an item, and you arrest them, that you need to give them advance notice that you're going to arrest them. You've broken the law, and even not being aware of that law is not enough of an excuse. In the process of pronouncing the ban and doing the enforcement, there's still room for advocacy and engagement with the stakeholders. And mind you, many of the stakeholders were involved in the development of the policies at the national level and at the state level, because you have under the EPR program, the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, you have producer responsibility organizations which involve the including manufacturers. So they're aware of many of these things. They're already aware. It's not that they're not aware, but because of the profit motive, many companies and manufacturers have neglected to take responsibility for keeping their products out of the waste stream.
While this ban on styrofoam and single-use plastics take effect, agencies like LOMA are gearing up to ramp up advocacy efforts. They are also prepared to clamp down on companies and distribution outlets to prevent further distribution.
We are going to call the stakeholders that is the market women, to let them know about the bans, because most of this thing is being used in the market because it's very cheap, so they prefer to use it to sell food. After the advocacy, after the enlightenment, if you use it, it becomes illegal for you for using. We can arrest you and prosecute you. The advocacy is going to be, it's going to be a continuous one, because Lagos is a very large city. We have to go to the roots and corners of Lagos State to let them know. We have to go to rural, because we have rural areas in Lagos State. We are going to move around to let them know that is bad.
In Africa, countries like Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa and Rwanda have strict policies on the use of single-use plastics. Kenya, for example, imposes fines of $40,000 on companies involved in importing, manufacturing, or selling single-use plastic bags. With the move to cut down single-use plastics, experts provide insights into the long-term benefits and potential challenges associated with this development. What does this mean for Lagos in the years to come? And how might it influence waste management policies globally?
You and I eat fish. And all the fishes comes from where? From the ocean. The volume of microplastic that has been found infiltrating into fish is huge. We are saying that research has shown that every human of us have dangerous plastic chemicals in our system, and they are entering the food chain. So when you look at the public health impact of plastics, then you will not even want to use plastics. There are alternatives. Jute box bags are alternatives to what's it called? To carriage bags, the black nylon bags, and they are all biodegradable. Who says that production of those kind of jute box bags and all that cannot now be the next thing for those group of people to move into? So they are not getting out of business. They are not moving away. They are not going out of business entirely. You are not putting anybody out of business. They are only changing from one business to another. That's all that needs to be done. Let nobody deceive anyone that there are no alternatives. We are ready with alternatives that are even cheaper and they are more environmentally friendly.
As the ban on single-use plastics take effect, Lagos anticipates a shift towards eco-friendly practices, even as there are expectations for innovative solutions, increased public awareness, and a ripple effect that could inspire positive change.
Green Angle returns in just a moment. Stay with us. The federal government just crushed around 2.5 tons of seized elephant tusks and ivory in a groundbreaking move to curb illegal ivory trade and safeguard Nigeria's dwindling elephant population. Peter Knight, founder of Wild Africa Fund, shares insights on this crucial step.
Well, I think the first thing people need to understand is that ivory cannot be sold. It's illegal everywhere in the world to export or sell ivory. So they can't sell the ivory. So you either keep it in a safe house and a room and have security 24/7 forever, which obviously is an expense to the government and the taxpayer, or you get rid of it somehow, you put it beyond use. And so in putting it beyond use, they're saving money in the long run, they're making sure that nobody can steal that stockpile, but they're also trying to raise public awareness. And so there's been more than a dozen newspaper, TV articles about it, and it gives the government a chance to say ivory is illegal. If you are trading in it, we will catch you, we will prosecute you, and we will destroy it. So they're using it as a public awareness tool, I think, to indicate increased effort from the government of Nigeria in trying to stop illegal ivory trafficking. The obviously biggest deterrent is people that do it get caught, so that means good detection. And you know, customs, I think, in Nigeria have been doing a pretty good job the last few years. There's been a lot of big seizures, so the risk of getting caught now in Nigeria is much higher. The second thing is prosecution. So you need to, when people are prosecuted, a few years ago, people were just, the ivory was being seized, but nothing was being done. Now, the customs are pursuing criminals, you know, and they are taking them, they're prosecuting them, and the courts are doing much better sentences. So, you know, if there's a risk of going to jail for 10, 15 years, that's obviously much more of a deterrent. We have one piece of the jigsaw I think is still missing here in Nigeria. The laws are very old, as you know, very old-fashioned, and there was, in the last administration, there was a bill introduced to modernize those laws. And we're very hopeful this will be reintroduced now with the new government and pass through this year. That law, as it was then, enables the government to pursue people across borders. You know, they can extradite people. And obviously, a lot of the criminals involved are not Nigerian. They're people coming using Nigeria as a transit point. So this new law, it gives more powers to seize equipment used in the smuggling. So you can take your car, you know, your property, if you've been using it for smuggling. So this new law would be a big, big deterrent. And really, if it can be passed, it would take Nigeria, you know, from being one of the biggest problem countries to actually heading up the efforts in West Africa to stop wildlife crime. One thing, one of my personal dreams, and I hope for Nigeria, is to actually rebuild some of the national parks here. So elephants now, there's only 400 left, as you know, but imagine if tourists could come and see elephants within Nigeria. There's been a recent study, 4 out of 5 tourists coming to Africa come to see wildlife. So if you don't have wildlife that people can see, you're losing 80% of the market. And I think the long-term plan for the government should be to refurbish, restructure some of the national parks so that the animal populations are growing, so that the animals are not afraid of people because they're not being poached, they're not being hunted, and to have tourism as a major thing. And you know, we recently spent time in Rwanda, and there in Akagera National Park, they have brought back rhinos, they have brought back elephants, they have brought back lions, so it's now a big 5 park, and so that's great for international tourism. And I think that should be the goal here in Nigeria. Not only would you bring in international tourists, but I think there are many Nigerians who would love to go and see elephants and lions and these animals if there were the opportunity. It's one thing having a forest. If the wildlife is gone, the absorption is less. So elephants, for example, forest elephants, they eat small plants, they open up the areas to more light in to grow the bigger plants, which are the ones that absorb the carbon. So they've proven now that elephants are gardeners, if you like, of the forest, and that enables more carbon absorption. So where I think Africa really has a lot to offer, it is not the biggest emitters of carbon by any means, but as absorption in natural ecosystems, maybe Africa can lead the world. And with that should also come funding. We know about carbon offset funding. I think it's evolving now biodiversity offset funding. The elephants can enable more carbon absorption. They've also shown, for example, wildebeest. If there are wildebeest in a system in East Africa, the carbon absorption of those environments is greater. So they can be an asset on that side, as well as obviously the tourism. And you look at East Africa, the tourism, there have been calculations that an elephant in 75 years of its life generates more than $1 million for tourism. And that's jobs. So in the long term in Nigeria, I think that should be a goal, to develop wildlife as an asset for the tourism industry, as well as the national pride and the heritage and all those other elements that come with it. Pangolins consume ants. Ants consume and very often damage people's crops. So there's an element, an ecosystem service, if you like, from pangolins. And I think, most Nigerians don't primarily eat bushmeat, particularly here in the city. It's sort of a luxury add-on. It's not a staple. And most countries in the world have moved away, everybody used to consume bushmeat all the time, have moved away to agricultural products. And I think, that's really where the long-term future of protein production is. It's maybe not a problem for things like grass cutter, which reproduce very quickly, the legal bushmeat, that's okay. But the animals like the pangolins, they will disappear very quickly under this pressure. So we're not going to have them in the future. So the option is not to carry on doing that. It will end, and it either ends with some pangolins left that can still fulfill their role in ecosystems, or it ends sooner. There's another big element here, which we've seen so much in the last few years, which is zoonotic disease. And now a lot of theories floated around COVID. The current thinking is quite clearly that it originated in the wild. It came from bats. Even the lab theory, people think the lab theory means that people developed it, made it in a lab. That's not true. The lab theory is people were studying wild bats in a lab, and it leaked from the wild bats through the lab. So even the lab theory is rooted back to the wild. But the prevailing theory now, and the information is, it came from that Wuhan market. And that was from originating in bats, jumping to something called a raccoon dog, which is a small mammal, which is, was used in the bushmeat trade. And then it spread through the butchering in that market, and the butchering process is what helped to spread it. So COVID-19 is only one of literally thousands of diseases that are out there in the wild, quite safe when they're in the wild, but if we bring them into our cities and we butcher the animals, there's a risk of transmission. And we've seen Lassa fever, we've seen Ebola, the list every year, Marburg, the list every year grows of these different diseases. So that's a good reason not to consume bushmeat. Our role, if you like, to us is exposing the challenges and promoting the solutions. So making people aware of the problems and what they are, and then looking around the African continent and finding programs that are working and giving them publicity too. So when we have seen some of these chicken projects, for example, with villages that work very well. So we need to promote those to make government and people aware that there are alternatives, there are better ways to do this, which are more sustainable, they're better from a health point of view, and that's really, and they're better from the income point of view, the scalability of it. So, these things are out there, we need to publicize them, and we need to encourage the governments and private sector to get behind some of these solutions. I think there's a lot of great things happening in Nigeria now. Primarily, we've just done our survey after working here for 2.5, 3 years, and 85% of people were aware of the campaign, and 30% of people said they would stop eating bushmeat going forward, illegal bushmeat going forward. And so that's a great start, and those are impressive numbers, and that's really been because of the participation of the Nigerian media. So that's been very encouraging. The government is moving in a number of directions positively. The big thing this year will be to get that legislation passed, and from that we kind of turn a circle from being on kind of a downward run to going upwards and improving. The African elephant populations have stabilized now with the ivory ban, and with that, the dream for me is having one park in Nigeria where you have lions, where you have elephants, we have giraffe, and it's a lure for tourists and also a wonderful thing for Nigerians to be able to go and see their wildlife heritage.
Next, we meet Adeshola Adegeye, an eco-champ advocating for bamboo over plastics. And through her foundation, Green with Green and EcoBiz, she's tackling climate change and promoting environmental sustainability.
I stumbled into this this space because it started when I was still in the university. Then I was the student president of Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria in the University of Ilorin. And then we had a project during Global Recycling Day. So we just decided, myself and my team members, the executive, decided that, okay, let's just have a project. And then we decided, okay, let's go around the school and pick plastic. So we contacted then Big Fold Recyclers in Ilorin. So during the process, the day came, that was March 19th, I think that was 2019 or 2018, and then, we went around the school, went just a portion of the school rather, and then in no time we picked over 1,700 bottles. So it was shocking because we picked that large number in a short time, and it was less than 1 hour that we used, and then we were able to gather so much bottles. So after the activity, I decided to, I wondered why we had so much. And people, when I decided to make some more research, I found out that plastic was really bad for the environment. I delved into more research and I saw how it doesn't biodegrade, how it was, it was a challenge, it was a menace, it clogs our drainages, what I can even see anyway. So I could see the impact, negative impact, and saw that people are not aware. I was in school, I was in the university, and I was not even aware of, this much problems that plastic causes. So that was how the passion grew. I knew I needed to do something. I knew if I was in school, and how much more people that are not even privileged to be in school, how much more people that are not even privileged, to go to university and all of that. So I decided to bridge that gap. I identified that knowledge gap, and I decided to bridge that gap. So with time, when I garnered enough knowledge, I decided to create a community of people that, okay, yes, I want to spread, awareness. I want to raise awareness about this, and during my research, I saw that you could actually use alternative rather than, going for the one that harms the planet, that also hurts us in turn, because plastic actually has, so many health issues. Wood is considered to be a biodegradable material. That is, it biodegrades. When you leave wood for a couple of months after you're done using it, you'd find out that it disappears into the earth. Unlike plastic, plastic could break into like fragments and pieces and microplastics, but it is still plastic. It remains plastic for years, for over 500 years. Statistics have showed that the regular PET bottle where you have your bottled water and drinks and soda drinks and stuff, the statistics have showed that bottle can stay up to 500 years. Having such single-use item outlive us humans. So that was where the whole idea of using, biodegradable product, the whole idea of using wood that can biodegrade. So when I'm done using my wood, when I dispose it off, I don't want to see it in 100 years or 200 or 500 years to come. I want it to, just vanish, let the earth digest it, unlike plastic, which is not digestible by the earth. So that's why you find out many of our products are made of wood. They're made of bamboo in particular, because bamboo is considered one of the most sustainable plants. So it's actually a grass. So it's considered most sustainable grass in the world because it grows faster. It grows up to 3 meters in a day. It requires less water. It doesn't require fertilizer, and that's why you find out that many eco-friendly items are made from bamboo, are made from wooden items, because they are biodegradable. For EcoBase, for us, we started, just like I said, how my own journey started. So I started bringing the materials from my friends, and then oftentimes when I wanted to scale up a little bit more, I decided to look for some manufacturer that can make something to my specification. Having an engineering background really has guided me into, okay, you make this dimension, or help me to make this and this. So it kind of also helped me. And then in terms of the process, so some of them are done in country here using local artisans, while some of them are also imported. these things can be pricey compared to the plastic counterparts, really. So if you have like more people, just like it's kind of like demand and supply. So when something is scarce, it can be a bit expensive. However, if everybody's doing it, or if we have like you can buy it from this, you can find people. We have more manufacturers interested in producing sustainable products. We have them like everywhere and easy to find. Then the price will also go down. The government has a role to play, a whole lot to do in this space, because when it comes to the government policy, especially for items like single-use plastic, imagine if single-use plastic is banned and people now, you know that when you're on the go, you won't find anybody maybe walking around you to get maybe plastic bottled water and stuff. You know that you have to carry your plastic bottle, or you have to carry your reusable bottle, rather. So when you know that you have to do that, then you have to get one for yourself, and this will increase this is like new market or more market for people that are into, eco-friendly store or eco-friendly items, really. So the government policy has a whole lot to encourage us all to live more sustainable, and living more sustainable is also like very healthy to us. So we are reducing our plastic usage, we are saving, the planet, we are saving the earth, we are preserving the earth, not just for ourselves, but the future generation.
And that's about it on this week's edition of Green Angle. Until I come your way next time, remember, together we can build a sustainable world. I am Esther Mbokwariola. Bye for now.